I think my SIL's best friend is trying to get with my husband, and she's encouraging it. Am I delusional? I can't believe what has been happening lately. My SIL, who is 23 and my husband's half-sister, he's 28, was the result of their mother's infidelity. When my husband was 12, his father divorced their mother after a paternity test. Since then, my FIL has had nothing to do with my SIL, but has maintained a relationship with my husband. This has made my SIL extremely clingy to my husband, and he, in turn, is very protective of her. He usually doesn't tolerate any negative remarks about her, which is why I'm sharing this here before talking to him. Last year, my husband and I bought a house with an indoor swimming pool. My SIL was over the moon when she saw it, and asked if she could use it sometimes with her friend Chloe. We agreed, as long as she gave us a heads up before coming. They used it many times before, but hardly ever when my husband was home due to his long hours as a lawyer. However, with the lockdown, he started working from home. My SIL asked me if she and Chloe could come over to swim, but I was uncomfortable as I'm pregnant and didn't want to risk the baby's health. She then asked if they quarantined for 2 weeks, and my husband said it was okay. 2 weeks later, they showed up. My husband was in his office, so they went straight to the pool after a brief chat. An hour later, my husband came out, and we were in the kitchen. My SIL came in to get a drink and started talking to my husband. Before going back to the pool, she said, "Chloe's going to be so happy to see you." It was strange because my husband and Chloe aren't close. 2 minutes later, Chloe came into the kitchen and spent the rest of the time chatting with my husband until he had to get back to work. She was giggling and smiling a lot, and it really seemed like she was flirting. She even gave me a weird smirk before going back to the pool. Before they left, they asked my husband if he was working from home every day, and he said yes. The next 2 weeks, they came over to swim every single day. But Chloe never got in the water. Instead, she walked around the house in a bikini. She used to wear a one-piece. Whenever my husband came to be with me, she quickly interrupted and kept him talking until he had to return to work. I made lunch for everyone, and when I was about to call my husband, my SIL stopped me and said Chloe could do it. They exchanged a look, and Chloe seemed really pleased to go get him. Chloe also started getting more touchy with my husband, putting her hands on his chest and arms and standing or sitting very close to him. To my husband's credit, he usually created some distance. I think my SIL is involved because she's made some mean remarks about my pregnancy. She told me a story about a friend's boyfriend cheating and said something like, "A lot of men cheat when their wives are pregnant." She also commented on how chubby I look and how it looks odd next to my husband since he's well-built. And if she saw my husband out of the office, she would quickly tell Chloe. I started to wonder if I was just being paranoid because of the pregnancy hormones. My SIL texted me yesterday asking if they could come over to swim next week, and I really wanted to say no, but I knew she complained to my husband. I wanted to talk to him first, but I wasn't sure if I should mention the flirting. Was I imagining things? We were watching a movie when my phone lit up with another text from my SIL, saying she'd be here at 1 p.m. the next day to swim with Chloe. My husband saw it and told me to tell her not to come. This was so unusual for him, as he usually does anything for my SIL and rarely refuses her. I asked him if something was wrong, and he just shrugged it off, and we continued watching the movie. A few minutes later, he paused the movie and said he wanted to ask me a question. He asked if I'd noticed Chloe never swam when she came to our house. I wish I could have been calm, but I ended up laughing hysterically. I was just so relieved he brought it up instead of me. I think he thought I was losing my mind. When I finally stopped laughing, he repeated the question and wanted a serious answer. I said, "Of course I've noticed." He replied awkwardly, "So, you must have noticed the other thing too." In the conversation that followed, he said he didn't notice Chloe flirting at first because he was so busy with work and not paying attention. But when she started getting touchy, he realized what was going on. He said he didn't want to stress me out, so he didn't mention it, but he was worried I'd noticed and thought he was interested since he didn't stop it immediately. He knew we'd have to talk about it eventually, but wasn't sure how to bring it up. He had talked to Chloe privately and told her he was happily married and not interested, but she didn't take him seriously and kept it up. Finally, on Sunday, he called his sister and told her either she made Chloe stop or Chloe couldn't come over anymore. His sister threw a tantrum and said some horrible things about me, the baby, and our relationship. She insisted I was behind his request and called me controlling and insecure, even comparing me to a beach whale and saying Chloe was younger and hotter. He was really angry and said if she said something like that about me again, he'd stop talking to her. She claimed I had trapped him with the baby, and when he pointed out we were already married and he wanted a family, she kept insisting I had manipulated him. She said he was unhappy in our relationship and looked tired because I was making him work hard to support my fancy lifestyle while I did nothing. He told her accusations were baseless as he chose to be a lawyer, and I had just left my job. She said other similar things, but what made him really snap was when she said the baby was already ruining everything and it would get worse when it was born and he should have taken me to the abortion clinic. He told her neither she nor Chloe were welcome in our home until they apologized for their behavior and what she said. He said he wasn't sure he could forgive or forget what she said about our child, even if she apologized, and he couldn't believe she would think or say such a thing. She started crying and said she was sorry, that she didn't mean it and was just scared to lose him and not thinking clearly. He hung up on her. He showed me his phone, and she's been calling and texting him, begging him to reply. He asked if she had said anything to me. I wasn't sure if I should tell him, but he kept asking, so I told him what I mentioned before and some other things. He asked why I didn't say anything when she first said it, and I reminded him how he always got defensive when I said something about his sister. He got defensive again, but after some discussion, he admitted he might be a bit defensive and promised to stop, and that he wanted us to be able to talk about anything, including his sister. He also mentioned wanting to try couples counseling. He said it wasn't because our relationship was bad, but because his dad had told him one of the regrets from his first marriage was not going to therapy until it was too late. His dad's current marriage is better because they go to therapy. I agreed, and we'll probably try it soon. My husband thinks my SIL will still show up even if we tell her not to, but he promised he'll handle it if she does.